Alright.
Okay. Did you know this is a hate symbol? Wait, did you see about this?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Everything's a hate symbol, man. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Nuanced Nonsense. We're not experts, we just like talking. This is your co-host Alex.
I'm your other co-host Ben, and I brought on my friend Collin Ma. I know him from dance and he's my brother's friend, and also I met him through other things like FSA. So yeah, he's...
Wait, I'm your brother's friend?
You don't have a brother.
Oh, I know his brother. I know his brother.
He's your friend's brother.
We're still on bloopers, I guess. Yeah, I don't have a brother. That is false. I know his brother, and I also met him through other things like dance workshops and FSA. Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to say about yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Collin Ma. I'm a junior mechanical engineering student, and yeah, I guess I'm happy to be here.
Nice.
All right, so the box standard first question. How's college been so far? Any highs, lows, regrets, things you're proud of?
Yeah, so I think college for me has been a lot of, marked by a lot of ups and downs, but I think overall it's been a really good experience in, trying to put myself out there and, trying a lot of different things, and then trying to figure out what I want to do, and I think I've come, a long way in that since, when I first started college, when I knew absolutely nothing. Yeah, it's been a good time.
What are some things that you feel like you've learned?
I think I've learned a lot about actually understanding different perspectives. This project that I've been working on, I've been working on with communications and Italian and anthropology major and a public health major, and that's not something you really get from high school or whatever, because when you're in college, people start to specialize a lot. So talking to people who have really different interests is really, really cool for me, because engineering and coming from Plano tends to be sort of a bubble. So I think just learning from other people is I learned how important that is.
So what is your project again?
Yeah, so I formed a team to compete for something called the President's Award for Global Learning, and although we became finalists, recently we just pitched and we didn't quite make the award, so we lost to a team that just had a really good project as well. And it's something that is still somewhat fresh because it only happened 5 days ago, but I think the really cool thing about this project is that despite that loss, I still want to work with these people. I still want to do this project, and we're thinking about finding ways to fundraise our project. So I'm still really grateful for that I found a team, and we still want to work on this together because we care about it.
Wait, that's really cool. What was the idea?
So what we're trying to do is high level solve the waste management crisis in Rome.
Oh.
So yeah, a lot of people know that Rome is actually going through a waste crisis right now, and there's a lot of things that you can learn and do as surprisingly as an undergrad, and trying to solve this problem. And a big part of it has been going through a month of trying to figure out what our solution might be, and actually thinking about how we'd actually do that over next year. And that's still something that we're trying to do. We just have a bit of a more difficult way to get it.
Is this similar to a case study, or is this just an independent project that you guys were working on?
Now it's a completely independent project.
Okay.
It's not under the UT scope anymore. Although we are trying to find funding from donors and the Horn Raiser, and trying to look into that now. Still pretty.
Wait, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really big passion project for me. It's not something that I think I would have even considered when I first went to college. Who thinks that, right?
Yeah.
Rome waste management. You come from Plano, which is a fucking bubble, and you're engineer. Me comp sci person, me engineer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it's completely non-technical, so I just learning that I want to do both.
That's cool.
How did you meet your other partners in the group? Because you said it was a pretty diverse group, right? Italian major.
Yeah. So there was a networking event for this competition, and I met he would become so I was one of the co-founders, and I met our other co-founder there of our team. So it's 4 people, and then from there we met someone else who was interested in our project, and then we interviewed someone 2 people, and one of them the anthropology and Italian studies major. she came along. So it was like somewhat random. I'd say like completely random actually, but somehow we managed to make like a really great team, even though we're all so different, and like I consider them like very close friends now. Yeah, like we've like coming back, like not a lot of student projects, I think, even after like a really big failure like that, would manage to keep going, and that still has to be tested, but I think like we're actually doing it, so that's
Wait, that is so cool.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
yeah.
What are some things that I don't remember if you touched upon this already, but like what are some things you feel like I guess you learned that were like different from your expectations going into the project?
I think sort of learning about what my limits are and learning like what I'm good at in a project. So I think I've sort of learned that I'm very good at some of the more like analytical stuff, I suppose, which that's kind of important, but like when it comes to like working within the team, there's like so much more, and I found out that like some of my teammates were just like really good at connecting with people and really good at actually making your team like mesh well, and like scheduling stuff and like thinking about things that I wouldn't even have considered. Just like realizing that like I'm not gonna be like, there's different things that I contribute, and they're not like more important or less important than what other people have.
Interesting.
How does it compare to like I guess a usual engineering group project?
Well, engineering group projects. I mean, for lab, it's sort of like, at least for my labs, it's like 4 people work on a Google Doc and you turn it in and you hope everybody did okay. But this one is like actually, forcing yourself to actually want to work with your team, because it's very independent, like very student driven, and it's something that you care about. And I don't know, if for like labs and stuff, I feel like you don't really get that feeling, at least from what I've experienced. So it's very like learning that, hey, you need to stay on top of this, and I need to stay on top of it too, and we just need to work together and get this done. And through that, it's like, continually, like week over week, that forms something that, you're with them for a long time, and, you don't want to kill each other. So, just like learning how to work in a team. I think it's something that you can only really do once you work on something like that.
Yeah. Or
like you can say that you can do. But yeah, it's a good process.
So have you ever heard of like the idea of like the framework of teamwork? And like how, okay, so imagine this. So you have 3 individuals, and like say there's 3 different categories that you rank them in, A, B, and C, and there's a scale of 1 to 5. And so individual 1 has like A all the way up at 3, and all the rest of it is at 1. And then individual 2 is like B is at 3, and the rest are at 1, and individual 3 is like C is at 3, and then A and B are at 1. And so the idea is that like you would think if you like add these all together, your team would be 5 across A, B, and C.
Okay. Yeah.
But then the actual framework is like, the actual way teamwork is supposedly supposed to work is that like, it's a framework for allowing everyone to achieve their highest potential, not additively. So the ideal teamwork would be it's 3 across A, B, and C, as opposed to 5. Because like you're allowing everyone to achieve like their maximum potential, but like you can't necessarily exceed it to that level of 5, because it's not necessarily possible across those 3 individuals, because they didn't already have that 5 there. So you allowed everyone else to excel in the different ones that they were lacking in. And so the team will function like 3 across the board.
Interesting. Yeah.
I don't know like if you confer or not. I've just heard about it before, and I was curious your opinion.
So I'm not entirely clear on like what the difference between a 3 and a 5 is, like besides like overall achievement and like those sort of traits or something. But from what I've experienced being on this great team, it's everyone is themselves, and like we're not like pressured to be anything else. So like I know that I need to like think through things really deeply, and like think through some things that like, I guess like from a problem solving perspective, like what do we have to do if the mayor decides to shut us out entirely of Rome? And, like what happens with that? What's the consequence of working entirely with grassroots organizations, and like what effect can you achieve with that? And it's like there's a lot of factors that go into that, and like I found that I've been very good at understanding that there's a lot of different things that can go wrong and trying to accommodate that. So like, and that's something that I think is somewhat unique. It's like the framework of like being threes all across. It's just everyone's themselves.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of confer. I think it was just an interesting idea I heard on like a YouTube video. It was like talking about like why team projects typically fail because they think that like, you know, everyone just does their part and it's like the sum of all the parts. But like the greatest thing is like you're greater than the sum of your parts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
Because I think it's what like you build together that like becomes why it's the whole that's greater than the parts.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we all, you mentioned the Plano bubble. So we all grew up in Plano.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah. Yeah. So Plano, I guess context is.
It's just a triggering like place to be.
All right. So actual context provided is it's just a northern Dallas suburb. It's like it has a pretty predominantly Chinese American. I want to say predominantly, but it has a large proportion of the city is like Chinese Americans. There's a lot
and the
of
socioeconomic status is very high.
yeah. It's like upper middle class. So I guess the way we were raised is fairly different from maybe the rest of the U.S. was raised, right? So
Yeah, like for example,
Mhm.
we can take all the AB classes that are available, and like some of us like really try to.
yeah, or like
And,
yeah, it's like
you know,
it's like a game,
yeah.
right?
And
yeah.
like once you come to college, like I think a lot of people from Plano learn that, you know, hopefully if they talk to other people,
Mhm.
which I would hope to happen.
Yeah, I hope that you
I
branch
hope
out.
that I hope that
Yeah.
people branch out from Plano, but it's like not a lot of people have the chances that we do in Plano.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting because like I remember I didn't go to Plano High School, right? So I live in the northern part of Plano, so I was zoned to a Frisco school called Liberty. So I remember thinking that like, oh, like I want to go to UT because a lot of my high school friends are gonna go to UT, and they didn't. So I got baited. that forced me to branch out. But like, I guess what were y'all's two attitudes like coming into UT? Like, were a lot of your friends coming to UT? Like, were you excited because of that, or were you like not? They weren't, and you were like nervous, or you were excited because of that?
Interesting.
I'm not gonna lie, like there's a big factor of like I was drawn by my friends and the bandwagon and peer pressure. Not peer pressure, but like you're following your peers.
Mm-hmm.
And like there's a big aspect of that influenced me wanting to come to UT.
Yeah.
And so I can't deny that existed. But also like the prestige of the school is also like enticing, and just like there was a lot of people. Like coming into UT, even though a lot of my friends I knew were gonna be here, I really wanted to branch out. And like the first like several weeks, I tried to interact with Plano people as minimally as possible,
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted that I guess that like critical growth period where it's like you're trying to acclimate to like everything around you, and you don't want it to be like just simply with Plano people, so you associate these things with like good things because they're Plano, but
Mm.
because like you tried to like get it because like you wanted it.
Mm.
That's interesting. I had a different set of circumstances, or I guess like the environment that surrounded me. So I think that during my time at Plano Senior High School, there was a general perception that you want to shoot for higher than UT, and like UT is sort of like a fallback. Like I could sort of feel that from like the people that I interacted with.
I agree with this
Yeah.
sentiment too.
So there wasn't like much of a draw towards UT as much as it was. It's a good school and it's gonna be a good choice nevertheless. Like no matter like it's good engineering school, good CS, good business, and like you'd probably want to go for one of those if you want to go to UT. But definitely there's that sense of once I got here, I really wanted to branch out and like not really try to interact with the Plano people, with the Plano squad. I guess like what you did. Yeah, that's how I approached it. Coming from Plano.
Yeah.
That sort of shifted away, I think, once I found that there are like specific Plano people that I found that were like actually good friends and people like who I know I'd stay with, like at least keep in contact with for a very long time. But it did take some time sort of figuring out who those people were.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like learning that you're not leaving them behind, you're just like trying to branch out. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you found your lifelong friends, quote unquote?
So I've tried to, and I don't think I have quite yet, although there are some people I think might be, like even one from Plano actually, or a couple from Plano, but no, not Not this year. Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you have?
I think I have, but like it's like time's tale to tell, you know?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
for sure.
Like-
yeah, time. Yeah.
Like you really can't decipher it yet, especially when we're in this period of college where it's like everything is about the present, you know? Thinking about the future is like a big thing, but also thinking about what's happening now is like a massive thing. And your past is like, you know, it's like I learned this word today, it's democratizing. Like you're all equal before college basically.
Yeah.
Like when you're in college, you start on like, in theory, you start in like the same starting line.
Yeah.
And so like that aspect of college I really liked, and it gave me that opportunity to branch out. Cause like Plano, like I don't hate it at all. It's just that like there is kind of like a cliquey nature to it. Like a lot of people just like, you know, that's just how friends are. Like you want to protect like your friend group. And so there's that aspect of it. And like I didn't like it because I wasn't in a clique. But if I were, I think I might have liked it more.
Yeah, I think that Plano could definitely be somewhat cliquey. Although I found that, like for my experience, I found myself like bouncing, or I guess like being spread out pretty equally between some of the cliques. So like there was like the gaming clique, like that was my, I suppose like primary group of friends who I like just played League with and stuff. There's also like the people who like very focused on academics, and also debate people. For some reason I knew a lot of them too. But definitely like there's that cliquey nature, but I think it's become better.
Yeah.
In a sense. I think people are making it better.
Like in Plano high schools now or like in college?
Oh, in Plano.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you know people in Plano right now? Like
Oh,
people in
not
high school
now,
right now?
but like I could tell, I could figure it out, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's cool.
That's interesting. Because like I haven't heard much, even though my sister goes to a Plano school now. Like I haven't heard much. It just sounds more or less the same. But like maybe it's just that like her account is like very biased towards what is negative. Because I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, I think there's a big thing towards, like, it's easy to say that now that we're out of Plano, like, it was a good thing, but, like, I think if we were still there, we'd be like, oh, no, Plano sucks, I just want to go. And, like, people just don't, I think Plano people don't initially, like, realize how great the environment can be for you.
Something I really remember distinctly was, like, when like we were applying to colleges senior year, one of my friends was like, he was applying for financial aid, but then like one of my other friends was just like, oh, like why do you need financial aid? Like, don't your parents make six figures? And then the other guy was like, no, and the other guy was just like, oh, surprise, right? And I was just like, I mean, that was like very like indicative of like, I guess Plano or like Frisco at the time, really, because it's just like, I think everyone's just used to their parents making like a lot of, like, both parents are working, they both make a lot of money, and it's just like, it's a very comfortable lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
But I think coming to UT, like I realized like some people, like, they're in college because like they want a job to like to live like the comfort life our parents provided us, right? And I think that was the biggest eye-opening part to me, was just like because like when you're young, like you're told a lot, like you're pretty privileged, but then like you don't have anyone else to like
There's
really
no context.
Yeah, there's no context. Like you can't really you don't have another person to really compare to, especially if you're like in like a bubble of friends that are all similar to you. It's like actually meeting people like that, and yeah, like my first instinct was to be like a little ashamed of myself for like, I guess, not appreciating like what my parents like had provided me, or what my environment had provided for me.
Yeah, I agree. There's also like a little entitlement. Like, for example, what your friend said about like the six figures thing, like that is, like, I don't want to like make it sound bad that we're entitled, but like when you have no contact, when you have no relative, like it just naturally becomes that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I feel like you can't like, you shouldn't blame yourself that you have like a comfortable lifestyle.
Yeah.
But I think that you still should make an effort to learn. You're not the only person in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's
sure.
like a lot that needs to be done for
Rome.
Yeah. For Rome. Yeah. You know, people
No.
living in trash. That
Outside the U.S., you know.
sucks. Yeah.
Also, another interesting thing about Plano is that like there is especially when you look at Asians, the majority of it is Chinese Americans as opposed to other Americans. So, like, I was curious what your point of view was on that.
Yeah, so just like a background on me culturally, I'm pretty much like entirely Vietnamese American, although I'm also 3 Chinese, but I am Vietnamese pretty much. So I consider myself somewhat split between like the, very big Vietnamese American community, and like, just being American, as well as the Chinese, like the predominantly Chinese group in Plano. So just like for reference, if you're in Plano, like I think you sort of know that there's that whole like CYLC or CYC squad that tends to take up the like be in a sense like the popular or like dominant sort of Asian American people in high school, and in Jasper, like the junior high, that I wasn't in that, and it was very, I didn't even know it existed. I just knew like there was me and there was all the other people. So there's definitely that feeling of isolation, and it was only later on that I sort of like went into those spheres, or like got to know people in those spheres, and then like understood that they're not all out to like exclude me or something. But there's definitely that isolation factor.
How did you go about overcoming it?
Yeah, I guess it was just talking to people, sort of like branching out from like the same way I do now, like learning about different majors and people with different passions. It was the same then, where I just like talked to different people who were better at academics than me, because like my first year at Jasper was pretty bad academically. So I think that's like sort of that drive to understand school better got me talking to different people, realizing that like I could like use their help and like in turn like help in my own way, I suppose. I think that's what sort of got me into like that sort of community.
Interesting.
And then learning like why I wasn't a part of that in the first place.
Interesting. What about you?
I guess for me, since my high school was in Frisco, like a lot of people from like there's no, in my opinion, there's no real community in Frisco, and that like nobody's, like, at least for Asian Americans, like nobody's actually, very few are actually from Frisco, right? They moved from somewhere, like they either moved from Plano, like across the street, and they're like, oh, I'm zoned to Frisco now, or like they moved from like Cali or like some other state, and like they just came for like the big house that's like a lot cheaper than it would be in like the home state they were in. So I kind of just felt like nobody, I never really had like the high school experience where like everyone's like, oh, like we're like close, or like we hang out mainly together. Like their main communities for a lot of my friends were like the extracurriculars, like they did like GDYO or something like that. So like that's where I felt kind of excluded in. I guess like I went to CYLC and stuff like that, but I don't know. Like, yeah, I can kind of get what you're saying. Like, it's like a very big, it's like kind of like a hive mentality, and like everyone's like, oh, like they come back from camp, they're like, here are the memories I have, here are the pictures. You're just like, what's going on? But
and like I'd see those and I'd be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, why am I not there? Why do my parents like know about this? Right?
Yeah.
Why aren't they connected with that community? And it didn't feel great at the time.
Yeah, and like, I guess like I am Chinese American, but my parents are from Hong Kong, so like I guess the difference is that like we speak Cantonese and not Mandarin, and like Hong Kong used to be a British colony, so it's a little different culturally. So at least in Plano, like the predominant Chinese American community, like they're like second generation from mainland China, so they speak Mandarin. So a lot of times like I don't really like people, like parents would try to speak Mandarin to me, and just like I don't know. It's like, your mom knows Mandarin. I'm like, yeah, because she wanted to learn, but like I didn't, So I felt kind of like isolated in that way, and where like it's just so weird because like I was part of the majority, but like I wasn't, like I was like a minority within the majority. So that just felt like I was in the middle of the middle, right? It was just so weird, and like I didn't even know that like Cantonese Americans were like Cantonese people were like the first people to come to the U.S. until like I took like a history class, and they talked about the railroad, and like the one paragraph they had dedicated to it, they're like, oh yeah, they're from Guangzhou. And I was like, oh, that's where Cantonese people are from. So like when I went to like San Francisco, like it was weird like hearing people speak Cantonese, and like that was the primary Chinese language, and I was like, oh, I mean, it just goes to show like perspective, right? Because like I kind of felt like there wasn't that many Cantonese people in the U.S., but like in like California or like New York, New Jersey, like the more traditional like Asian American enclaves, like there's actually a pretty sizable amount of Cantonese people, right? And like, yeah, just like even like watching videos where like people like there's like this YouTube channel called like Canton Mando, and like they're like Canadian, but like they do like kind of Asian American skits, and like for them they're like two of them are Cantonese, like it's a team of 3, and they're like I didn't even know, like I thought majority of China spoke Cantonese, but it's like I was when I ventured a little outside my bubble I learned that it was like Mandarin, right? So I think it just goes to show like perspective is like just really like your reality. But yeah. So yeah, I felt it kind of like related to both of what y'all were saying, and like I felt kind of like isolated, but in the same way like I was technically part of the majority, so it was just weird. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like as to your so did you know like people like you were on a first name basis with like people from COSU and CYC?
Oh, the ones who went to CYLC, yeah. Like I was like I never was like I never was a counselor or like assistant counselor, so like I wasn't really, because I think when you're part of that group, then like that's when like you're actually like super integrated into the camp. But I just went as a camper for a couple years, so like I knew some of the people, but like I was never close to them. But part of it is like I think in like middle school and like early high school, like I had a pretty hard time like socially. Like I guess I was pretty awkward, or I'm still pretty awkward, but like
We're all pretty awkward.
yeah. But it's just like
we relate with each other.
Yes.
yeah. So it's like I guess it was like I guess everyone talks about how like CLC like you get really close at CLC, but I think that's just mainly because like those people have like open or outgoing personalities, right? Like I was kind of more shy and withdrawn, so like I just got to have a lot more Facebook friends after the event, after CLC, but I wasn't like actually like close with them. Like I'll say hi to some of those people if they remember me, but I feel like every year I kind of just went in with like a group of friends I kind of made at CLC or I knew beforehand, and then we would just come out of it like still together. Yeah, like my first year I felt like I connected a lot with other people, but it was just more like from like I have no idea who you are to like we're just like kind of friendly, I guess.
I see. Yeah, that's interesting because like when I was in high school I viewed it as, you know, everybody in COSC like know each other, and like, or at least like on a first name basis. That's why I perceived as like know each other at the time. Like not really super deep stuff, but it was like I don't know these people. Like maybe in orchestra they'll talk about it, or like I'll talk to them and like learn a little bit about it, but it'll be like still very much like us and them mentality at the time. Yeah. What about you?
I feel like I have a little bit different experience in the sense that like I appear Chinese, but I'm not, because like my family heritage is that like we're Thai people, but like in the sense that like we're Thai, like if you trace it really far back, we're Chinese. It's like Chinese people who immigrated to Thailand. So that's why I appear Chinese, as opposed to like the native Thai, which is like dark skinned and like not the same facial features as like Chinese people. And so people mistake me for Chinese, and like a lot of my friends' parents, they like try to speak Chinese to me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not Chinese. I don't know what you're saying. And so like there was like kind of like people thought I was in the majority. People like just upon first look, they're like, oh yeah, he's like Chinese. Like why didn't like I remember when I first saw like the CYLC, CYC things, they're like, oh, like why didn't you go? Like, and I was like, for me, I was like, oh, I'm not Chinese. Like if you guys are like doing any Chinese things, like I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, oh, we don't do Chinese things. And they're like, and I guess I just had like a misperception of it. I always miscategorized it as like exclusively Chinese. So there's an aspect of like self-isolation. But also I think part of it was that like I didn't grow up around other Thai people too often. Or rather, like I don't know very many Thai people, period. And so like speaking my own language is like kind of tough, and it's like I'm not super fluent. I'm not like I can like speak it, but like it's very slow and like not like conversation. It's like conversational at the max. And so it just felt really weird. So like I didn't want to go to these things, so that like fed into like the exclusion, like predominantly for myself.
Yeah. Do you think? Because I know like because Thailand is part of like Southeast Asia, like same with Vietnam, but yeah, I don't know if I'm wording my question like a little too specifically, but do you think like your experience as like Southeast Asian Americans was like different compared to to what it would be if you were like somewhere else, I guess.
I've never really thought about it like that, but like the thing that I have thought about is I feel like a minority of a minority, like in the sense that like I'm a minority Asian, and it's like Thai people are already very difficult to find outside of Thailand, because like they're what is that rate? Where like is it immigrate or emigrate?
Like
the one where you leave a country.
Emigrate.
Emigrate. The emigration
with an E. Yeah.
Yeah, the emigration rate in Thailand is like very low compared to like other Asian countries, and so that's why there's not that many in the U.S.
Yeah.
And so it's just like the opportunity is like even less, and so I just like people like that's the reason why whenever people like they're like oh yeah let me guess like what you are, like no one like thinks of Thailand in that sense because like they just view it as like a vacation spot as opposed to
like a restaurant place.
Or yeah, like a restaurant like genre or cuisine
Yeah.
rather than like that's where people come from.
Interesting. I think like like I said like in the beginning, I think of myself like as a split between like the Vietnamese Asian community, like the dedicated one in Dallas, because there definitely is like a big concentration, especially in Garland. But I always thought of myself as like separate from them and separate from like the obviously like the Chinese Asian American community in Plano, just because like there's this like a couple of Vietnamese churches where like people like everybody knows each other, like there's this Vietnamese school and everything that I was a part of like for a year I think. But sorry, wait, what was your question?
Oh, do you think I guess like growing up in Plano, like did that affect your did that affect your I guess experience as a Southeast Asian?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, it definitely I never got the sense that I never felt like I wanted to be like Chinese or anything, like not in that sort of like an ethnicity sense. It was more like why am I not part of that community as well? Like with my parents being Asian and them being Asian.
So kind of just like parents going to like Asian parties and stuff. And, like them all knowing each other.
Yeah, like them all knowing each other. I didn't really have that. Like there was like we have a Vietnamese like family friend group, but like it's not, spanning all of like the 1,000 kids in the grade, like in Jasper at the time. So like it wasn't even part of like the Chinese. I guess like for like the entire Chinese American just like community in Plano, like there's different subgroups within that, right? Like those different sort of family groups, I'd imagine. And like my family's friend group was like just separate from that sphere entirely. It was like a small like point outside like the huge bubble that was the Chinese American community.
It's like imagine like a Venn diagram.
Yeah.
Like
I'm just like
outside.
Just
or
outside.
like it's like a bunch of clusters and like his point's like an outlier. Yeah.
That's also like an interesting thing for me because like my parents don't have family friends just because like I said earlier like there's not many other Thai people and so like I always like wondered how my parents dealt with that and I still don't know to this day because like who did like because these
like who do they hang out with?
Yeah, I'm like just confused. Like I'm sure they manage, I'm sure they do something. It's just that I never knew or figured it out, I guess.
Yeah, I wasn't invited to too many, or my family wasn't invited to too many Asian parties, especially like later on in college. But that's mainly because like my dad's very introverted, so he doesn't like going to this stuff anyway. My mom's just kind of like aggressive, and she like works a lot, so she kind of just lost, like those friendships just like faded over time. So yeah, a bit. I just know for like, I don't know. I think for a lot of my early childhood, I just remember going to like church potlucks and like church fellowships, and like that was kind of like I guess the Chinese bubble I was in. But I remember like there were some like fobs from China who like came in high school so they could get into college in the U.S. like easier, and I was asking him like how do you know like all the other fobs, right? Because like that's what it seemed like. And he's like, oh yeah, we just have a network. Like if you know one person, you know everyone. And I was like,
interesting.
Oh, yeah. Because I was just like, are you is it like through church or is it through like something else? And he's just like, oh, I don't even know. I just do.
I think it's part of the aspect of where it's like there's already a network, and it's like you see someone that like could possibly be part of it, and then they like bring you in and sort of just like try to integrate you. That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because like there's not like a specific like organization, or I guess maybe I'm just been in college for too long. I'm just very used to everything coming
Being
through
an org.
being everything like meeting people has to be through like an org, right?
Yeah.
But like I just feel like
Honestly, yeah.
yeah, I just feel like I mean it's cool, right? It's like it's very organic in a way. It's just like you just move to a city, you know one or two people, or you meet one or two people, and they know like 5-10 people, and like your network just multiplies like that. Like I just think that's really cool versus like you kind of just go to an org. Like, not hating on orgs or anything, but it just seems like, I don't know, I feel like I've been kind of grown to view, like, friendships and relationships, like, it's kind of, like, formulaic, right? Like, you join a hobby, or you join, like, an organization, or you have classmates, and then, like, or coworkers, and then, like, that's how you, like, you make your group, and then, like, hopefully you click with them, and then, like, after you quit, like, I guess the ones you still keep in touch with, like, your actual friends.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
They're, like, spaces of opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
meet different people.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that was like just kind of foreign to me. But yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that like now, do you view it as like super foreign because like back in high school it wasn't necessarily like that?
Dude, in high school, I don't think I had a formula. I was just like, well, I don't have friends.
The formula is anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The formula was just like, I just didn't. I feel like my. I don't know. I feel like I'm still like kind of in the formula mindset, but I'm like trying to like get out of it, or like, mainly because like once you graduate, it's like super hard to have like that formula, right? Or I guess you can if like you're just friends with your coworkers, or you like you pick up
You
at the
gotta do
gym.
algebraic rearrangement.
But yeah. But I just feel like I don't know. I think part of me like there's a pushback in my mind because like I just don't like how calculating it is, or like I guess I really like organic friendships, which is why I thought it was like my friend like at church, like how he knew all the other fobs. I just thought that was like really cool because like there was no organization, but like people still looked out for each other, you know.
It sounds like that mindset that you were just talking about, like it's like that's like considering these attractions as like transactional,
Mm-hmm.
like in the sense that, you know, if I put this amount of energy, because like I mean I'm introverted too, like I think about it like sometimes like this, where like maybe this event or like this party or whatever, like that'll take like a lot of energy from me, and then like I feel it as like tiring, and I might not even meet people, and like I think that might be kind of unhealthy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Just like in how you approach things, because it's not organic. It becomes like not organic because of that.
Yeah.
Sort of
I think
perspective.
it's like when it becomes very results driven, right?
Yeah, results driven,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like even like how you're like going way back to like when you're talking about I guess your project, like
Yeah.
at first maybe it was a little results driven, like you wanted to win like the competition,
Yeah.
but in the end, like I guess you know the Rio competition was the friends you made along the way.
Yeah.
Shut
so
up.
like no,
Yeah.
so but like yeah, you actually bonded, like you cared about the
Yeah.
Rome, the waste crisis in Rome, and then like you still want to do it even like
Yeah.
you're not gonna like you didn't win anything, right?
Yeah, like a big part of it was, yeah, I completely agree. Like how, so the friends we made along the way, but like it's sort of like buying in
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
like first buying into the project and then buying into each other.
Mm-hmm.
Was like why we're like still really good friends and stuff. Yeah.
I think that's like interestingly, I think the reason why a lot of relationships or like friendships generally tend to like wither away is because either one or both didn't buy in.
Yeah.
Like they were in it. I don't want to say in it for something, but like I guess they weren't. I guess they didn't really think of like the relationship beyond like what the current
Yeah.
status was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was interesting because like the concept of buying in is kind of important for like anything you're doing. Like for example, in sports, like you need to buy in, otherwise the system won't work. Like you need to quote unquote trust the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely like even like thinking about like when I was talking to Collin like a little before the podcast just about like hobbies and stuff, like how I wanted to get into dancing, but it's like I think part of the reason why it's like hard for me to get into it is just mainly because like I'm kind of viewing it as like a transactional thing, or like if I do this maybe I'll meet people, versus like yes, dancing does sound interesting to me, but it's like I don't think I'm necessarily buying into like dancing like as the art like in of itself, you know, and like because I feel like the friendship stuff like that comes organically like as you're like genuine in the process, right? But I think it's just been hard for me to like I guess feel genuine about like a lot of different stuff like I'm doing because I'm so used to that organizational mindset that I guess college instills into you.
Yeah, I think like as far as buying into it, like that's not something that happens instantly. So like when you go to your first workshop, like at least what my experience was, like I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so awkward.
Oh,
I
I feel you.
Yeah.
I
I
feel
think
you.
like so I went to I remember it was FSA auditions, I think.
For
I think, David
Unity?
Shaw.
Unity?
No, it was Goodfill actually.
Oh.
Like, it was like outside Greg, and I went and it was like crowded. They couldn't find a space, so they just like went to the second floor Greg, like outside the basketball courts, and I was just like, what's going on? I was like glad that there wasn't mirrors so I couldn't see myself, because all I knew was that I wanted to try it out. I wanted to put myself out there and see what the actual act is like. That's why like I've kept up with it, I think, because I still value that. But I mean, that doesn't guarantee if you're going to be good or bad or not, right? Like obviously I failed so many times at dancing, like for auditions and stuff, like I can't even count, but I still view it, I've come to view it as like it's still something that I want to do, and not because like I'm going to get incrementally better at it, because I found that that's not how it's working.
Yeah, I feel. I remember, well, I guess not to your extent because I only went to one workshop, but I just remember I went to my first workshop recently with a friend, and I was like, dang, I actually have no idea what's going on at all. It was like taught by like girls. So it's like not necessarily all workshops taught by girls are like sensual dances, but like this one was. So it was like meant to, it's like accentuate like your hips and like your flexibility, and like I'm not flexible. So like it was a lot of like going to the ground and then like kind of like like pivoting like really fast a lot, and I was just like, dang, like I'm really lost. I look in the mirror and like everyone is, not everyone, but like a lot of people around me, I guess, who are more experienced, like they had like good body form and like good posture and stuff like that, and I was just like,
bro,
dang, I have no idea doing. Like I can barely remember how to do like what my body is doing, what my upper body is doing, what my lower body is doing, and like timing was like a whole different like beast, and I was just like, dang, I have no idea what I'm doing. And then like I just like, they wanted to like, I guess like the end of each workshop you do like a performance.
Oh yeah.
It's
to, like,
vibes.
to like and then like I didn't even want to go up because I was just like so embarrassed. And then like people did go up, and I realized like I wasn't the only one who felt lost. But
yeah, like honestly the groups thing I think is such a cool thing about dance culture. It's like someone explained it to me as like, because like I remember when I first went to my first couple of dance workshops, I was like, dude, I could not do groups. I am so like, I look so bad. And then like someone was explaining it to me. It's like you spend that 1 hour of like learning this so that you can go ham at the very end. It's like you can show what you have, you know? It's like showing that you're like going ham and you're like recording, you're putting it down that you did this. I thought that was super cool. Like even for the workshops that don't have auditions tied to it, like I think it's just really cool to like, that is like a cultural thing amongst dance people.
I think that's easier to grasp though if you're actually experienced though.
Yeah.
Right? Because imagine how much pressure you feel. Like I know, like for my first one groups, I didn't do groups for like my first 10 workshops or something. People were just like, I got nothing, guys. I don't even remember the moves. So
actually, me too.
Yeah, I feel it like. Even now, like the first time I was just like nervous out of my mind, and I just like couldn't do it. And then over time, like you get like, you know, like adaptation to it. Like you slowly like view it less like camera and more like it's just you. But like that takes a lot of like time, and like you have to like the first step is always the hardest step.
It's very experiential. Like you can't think through it. Like you have to just sort of do it. And then it gets a lot easier from there. Like I think also something that's really helpful is that talking to like the choreographers, like, because I don't know, like I found talking to David Shaw and like Sun Lee like to be like really I don't know how to say it, like very empathetic, I suppose. Like because like they all started like you know, they were all at where like I was at some point, and like, you know, maybe there's like they're really good because they put a lot of time and a lot of energy, and like they really care about it, and you know that's really cool, and like that, and they're not saying that you have to do that. It's just that like that's why they are good.
I guess like there's like this like educational philosophy where, like I remember like in class where it's like if you're setting up like table groups, like I don't remember what your classroom was like, but sometimes like there would be like groups of desks where like they have like 4 people.
Yes. It's like it's like kind of like 4 rectangles.
Yeah. So basically it's just like 4 or 5 people at each, like 4 or 5 desks grouped together, and like basically like they would form where like in each group, like you don't want everyone to be like super good or everyone to be like the same level. Like you want one person to be like really good, like 2 people in the middle, and like one like I guess below average student. So then like because like the really good people can communicate to the like average people, and the average people communicate to the like below average people. So it's kind of just like
Trickle down.
it's just like that empathy, right? Because like I think if you're really good, like you're a prodigy, like prodigies, like you're not really gonna know what it's like to like have to like I guess like think through the steps, or like not have something come naturally to you. But like if like I guess like if you've been through that process before, like it's easier for you to be like a good teacher, right? Yeah.
Interesting.
I think that's interesting.
Yeah. So I guess that's something I thought of when like he brought up like how accommodating like the 2 workshop leaders were.
Yeah.
So we should start wrapping up now because Colin's running a little short on time and we started a little late. But before we wrap up, I wanted to touch on League of Legends World Championships.
Oh yeah.
This is a little esoteric to Alex because he doesn't watch it, but
Or play.
yeah, or play. But it's like a huge thing. I feel like a lot of people play. So many people play, and I've just been watching and like, holy moly! Okay, at the beginning of the tournament, like before even play-ins happened, I predicted. I was like FPX versus G2 in the finals, and G2's gonna take it all.
Really?
I actually predicted
Those are your
that.
pick'ems?
No, like I didn't make a pick 'em.
Oh,
but like,
dude.
but I predicted that like G2 and FPX would make it all the way through, and then they would meet in the final, and then G2 would take it all.
Yeah.
So I'm still riding with that. I was like, dude, G2 will go the distance.
Yeah.
And for context, G2 is a European team, and Europe has never won a world championship, and so this is like a milestone moment because this is like one of the first times like Europe has been favored to win the whole thing.
Wow.
And this is like season 9, so this is the 9th world championship, I think.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it's
Like,
really cool.
It's all like it's been dominated by Koreans, and like right now in the finals, neither team is Korean. It's a Chinese team versus a European team.
And it happened last year as well, where all the Korean teams are knocked out.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And,
This is an end of an era.
yeah. Or, yeah, I guess last year might have been an end of the era, and now it's like transitioning towards
Yeah.
like, what region is going to replace them.
Or rather, it's like
Or
all
like-
regions are strong.
Yeah, or maybe like all regions are strong, except for NA. But
Yeah. Okay, North America is actually kind of weak, but like,
Yeah.
I was listening to Dive For You, which is like a podcast that some of the casters do, and they're talking about like NA has like bad talent structure and talent scouting, which is part of the reason why it's like that, because Europe has like these other leagues, and it's like it can really drive talent up. And like the way the culture, the gaming culture in EU is supposedly better than the gaming culture in NA, but I don't know about that. I think it's just equally as toxic, but like I think the talent finding and scouting and development is like very different between the two regions.
Yeah. Maybe it's just like the scouting and talent development. Because like I know, so one of my friends right now, he's, he's pretty good. He's thinking about going pro. Like he's in college right now, and I feel like we were talking, and I feel like there's just so many barriers.
Yeah.
To actually getting up to the pro level, and then like there's not even a good opportunity to really become pro.
Yeah. You kind of just have to like put yourself out there and like pray that something happens.
Yeah, and like that's 1 in a million, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like similar to what, you know, artists or like cola people go through.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of respect for them, but you know, that's how it goes.
What were your predictions?
Oh, I predicted SKT versus Fnatic, I think.
Oh, you trolled.
I don't know why.
You trolled.
Oh wait, not Fnatic. Wait.
Do you thought
Was
Fnatic was
at the
gonna?
same time?
You thought Fnatic was gonna beat? What was that team that they played? You thought Fnatic was gonna beat FPX?
I don't know. I just thought that since they got there last year, they might have like, you know, a trick under the belt.
Oh,
Actually,
okay.
I didn't know about like the internal issues that like came out after, so I was like, I don't know. I think GT might not make it because they didn't do well like super well in groups.
Yeah, they didn't.
Yeah,
And then
so-
they really popped off.
And like SKT, like you just generally shouldn't bet against SKT.
Okay, so SK Team is a Korean team with arguably the greatest of all time player,
With
Faker.
the greatest of all time. It's not arguable.
Oh, you're right.
It's
It
not
is.
arguable.
He's just performed so well over the existence of League,
Uh-huh.
and he's just been so good. He's like the GOAT, and so it's like people never bet against him. But in the most recent tournament where they got knocked out in semifinals, I remember the quote. The caster is like, Faker got killed early in the fight, and so that like was the turning point. And then it just like they zoomed in on Faker's player cam, and they're like, Faker knows his hands are shaking. It's like it was like really crazy seeing it. Like
It's such a meme.
his hands were like shaking as he brought his hair across because like he knew he had like made the losing play, and like to be the greatest of all time and just like do that. It's probably like a crushing moment.
Yeah. But I mean, everyone loves him like no matter what. Just because
Yeah.
he's proven time and time again like he's.
How long is an esports player's prime? Like,
I'm not sure.
it's not the same as like
Because it is,
physical sports,
it's
right?
changing because
It's
now
changing,
the infrastructure is a lot better, the pay is a lot better, so it's a lot more worth, and it's just like I think the conditions are a lot better. Like they invest a lot in like the players, so it's like your mental health, like your physical health. You're like an athlete now. They really want you to keep like up, and I think that's super cool. That it's like transitioning towards like a state where it's a lot more viable, and it's like. It will extend your career because it's more viable. Like in the old days, like the pay was so little. You had to be like a superstar. And then you had to just like fight all these issues on your own. And so it was just like a lot of them just retired and went to streaming. But nowadays it's like so much more worth.
Yeah, I think there's a general perception that like the prime is like, you know, early 20s or something like that, but now it's become like really messy in such a way that like you have people like Double if he's been playing for like forever. And then you have people like Caps who, like, what, he's 18 or something?
He was 18 when he first came in, right?
Oh, when he first came in. But yeah, it's, like, unclear now. So I think, you know, it's different from regular sports. I think that's a current perception right now.
Yeah.
It's just growing in, like, unprecedented ways.
Yeah.
Like
It's like new ground.
Yeah, like, every time they take a step forward, it's always a new territory.
Yeah.
That's good. It's a growing sport.
Yeah, because like they've made a lot of pitfalls, a lot of really cool things. Like a lot of sponsorships they've done are really cool, and sometimes they just made some bad sponsorships.
There's a Louis Vuitton.
There's a Louis Vuitton. I talked about this on the podcast with Andrew and Justin. There's literally a Louis Vuitton skin for one of the characters in the game.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they also did like something that designed the cup.
Yeah, like
for
a
the
skin is
championship.
like something you can buy, like to make your character look
It's just
cool.
an aesthetic.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
an aesthetic.
Is it expensive because it's Louis Vuitton, or is it just?
I don't know. They haven't released the
yeah,
cost
they haven't
yet.
released it yet.
But they released a splash art, and it looks kind of degenerate. It's like the character's like sitting on this like ring blade because they used a ring blade, and all throughout the ring blade is just LV.
Yeah.
And they're wearing a bunch of LV stuff, and they have like LV sunglasses, and it's like really troll.
Yeah, and like they designed a case that like holds the Summers Cup, which is like the trophy of the World Championships. And it just looks like it's all, you know, that classic Louis pattern. And then LV there. It's like, oh my. But yeah.
Oh wait, final prediction before we wrap up. Who's gonna win Worlds?
G2. Yeah.
I think G2. G2 will win.
Yeah.
I think you're like coming into this tournament. I thought G2 was gonna take it all, and now I'm confident G2 will take it all. Like I love doing B and FPX, but I think G2's got it.
Yeah. I think they're just like so unpredictable in like how they do things. Like they're unlike any other team
Yes.
that's like come before. Like at least after season 3.
Yeah. So to start wrapping up, how did you feel about today?
Yeah, no, this is good. Yeah, I think we talked about a lot of interesting stuff. We didn't get to like the stuff about.
Yeah, we didn't. But we'll come back when you have more time.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right.
Well, yeah, we're Nuanced Nonsense. We don't know we're not experts or anything. We don't know what we're talking about, which is about what's about to say. But we do like talking, and I guess that's all that matters. But yeah, signing out.